I want you to see a picture of the coin that really changed the face of collecting forever. 1953S Franklin half dollar, graded MS66 FBL for full bell lines by PCGS. The coin really has lovely antique gold coloration in the center and some vibrant aqua around the perimeter. It's really a lovely coin. But the 53S is the key date in the series in full bell lines condition, meaning with fully struck surfaces where all the bell lines are complete on the Liberty Bell on the reverse. The San Francisco Mint issues are notorious for being softly struck. And so they're usually struck without full bell lines. And there we have on the far right a 1954S Franklin half dollar. There's some toning around the rim. That's from a mint set. And I want you to note how flat it is in the center portion of his face. There's really no detail there. That's not wear. That's just a soft strike. And then on the reverse, because you have a soft strike, you'd have something like that Liberty Bell on the left there, where you see the top row of bell lines, but then the bottom row of bell lines will fade away because they weren't properly struck up. There wasn't enough die pressure. Now the picture in the middle is a coin with full bell lines, and you can see all the bell lines all the way across the top and the bottom row of bell lines. Now, this is a real important characteristic for Franklin half dollars. You have similar kinds of issues, for example, with standing Liberty quarters. You get a standing Liberty quarter with full head, meaning a full strike on Liberty's face, and it could be very valuable. The key date in the Standing Liberty Quarter series in full head is not the 1916P Standing Liberty Quarter, but the 1927S. You get a 1927S with full head, and it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, the 53S and the 54S Franklins are kind of like that, but especially the 53S. Great history of that 1953S and MS66 full bell line. That coin I handled in the late 1990s. I had just written my first book on full bell line Franklins, and it got a lot of attention from dealers and collectors. And I met with PCGS and NGC, and they developed the full bell line designation at that point. And the series really took off. And I had this coin that I bought, and I sold it to a collector for around $17,000 at the time. I knew the coin was a fantastic deal. So I sold it to this client, and a couple of years later, he came back to me. He said, Rick, I've got this home in New England, and I'm renovating it, and I need to raise some cash. Would you be interested in buying that 53S back from me? I said, yeah, I'd love to. I'll pay you around $25,000 for it, which would have been a nice profit. He had only owned it for a couple of years, and he bought it for around 17, and I was buying it back for 25 after only owning it for a couple of years. But I told him, though, but if you put it in an auction, this series is so hot, I believe it will do much, much better. I think the coin will sell for well over $30,000, $35,000. So he followed my instructions. He put it in a major auction that I told him to put it into. So he put a reserve on it. And the coin got some real attention in the auction. And I wish I kept the Coin World newspaper for the following week, because it's the first time a Franklin half dollar made the front page of Coin World newspaper. The coin sold for $69,000. And that was the headline on the Coin World newspaper. And from then on, that changed the face of collecting forever, because dealers really started focusing on these coins struck after World War II like they had never focused before. Now, here's another 1953S. This is a brilliant example that sold in auction for about $32,000. And here's what the auction house had to say about this 53S. Writing in 2002, Franklin half guru Rick Tomaska, this is, I was a guru, okay, folks? Rick Tomaska said of this issue, now ranking among the most significant rarities in 20th century coinage. This date seems to establish new price records on an annual basis, like the 1927S Standing Liberty Quarter in full head, and the 1945P Mercury Diamond full split bands, the 1953S Franklin in full bell lines is the key issue in its series. What I have today, these are extraordinary. I've got a small group of some 1953S and 1954S Franklin halves, the last of the S mints of the Franklin half series, and I have them in beautiful, brilliant condition in MS65 and MS66. MS66 is kind of top of the line for a brilliant Franklin, folks. I mean, these coins are phenomenal. I want you to take a look at these. I have 14 or 15 53S's in 6/6 condition with nearly full bell lines. They're absolutely spectacular. They're brilliant, or they might have a faint light tint, but they're spectacular coins. And it's really important, the fact that they are actually brilliant coins. They're in my signature series holder, meaning I reviewed every coin that it's really conservatively graded, exceptional eye appeal and quality for the date and grade. And right below it, we got the 54S's in 6/6. And I have a few less 54S's in 6/6 than I have 53S's. And then at the very bottom, I have both dates in MS65. Now, the fact that they are brilliant is really, really important, because a large percentage of these Franklins from this era came from these mint sets. They were cardboard mint sets. They were shipped in paper envelopes. This is an actual envelope, 1956 mint set. And you opened it up. The coin would be in one of these cardboard envelopes with this paper flap. One of the coins is missing from this mint set, but you can see the toning all over the coins from the sulfur from the cardboard and the paper. And the toning was usually quite unattractive. And Sasha's got a few mint set toned Franklins to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. There's a 53S. It's got what I call speckled toning. I'm not a fan of speckled toning. Next to it is a 54S. The obverse actually has some nice color. The reverse, it's got that black spotting along the top there. It's a real killer as far as eye appeal. Now, it's really important, the fact that these are brilliant, because one thing I've always stated again and again is that tone coins tend to grade higher than coins that are brilliant. The toning a lot of times will cover up light little scratches and things that if the coin were fully brilliant, you'd see those imperfections. And I got a great example. There was a 49P that had some toning on it, light toning, and I sent it to NGC to get it conserved, to remove the toning and to regrade it and send it back to me. In fact, I've got the invoice right here. The coin was in a 6.5 FBL holder, and it came back regraded after it was conserved, after that toning was removed, in 6.3 condition. Well, why is it a 6.3? Well, because it has a lot of little scratches you can see in the back of his head, small little scratches that the toning kind of obfuscated. But now that the coin is brilliant, you can see all those little marks. And so now that you can see all those little marks, it's a 63. And that's an accurate grade. So it goes in my signature series because, hey, for a 6.3, it's a nice coin. It's not a gem, but still, for a 6.3, this is a nice 49P. And to get these are virtually immaculate, my fellow collectors. To get these this clean, the 53S and the 54S Franklins were low mintage issues. To get one so virtually mark-free, the only way you get a fully brilliant coin like this is from an original roll. Look at this coin. It is virtual perfection. No scratches in the feel. I mean, it's incredible. It's so hard getting these original rolls. Virtually all the original rolls have been picked through at this point. Again, there weren't that many original rolls to begin with, and the reverse, very nearly full bell lines, really well struck. Again, the rarity has to do with the mintage. Sasha's got the mintage chart over there of the Franklins, the Walking Liberty half dollars, basically all the half dollars from 1941 through 1964 on the far right there. And you can see a lot of the walkers had mintages of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million. You get to the 53S, a mintage of 4,148,000 coins, 54S, 4,993,000 coins. That was the total mintage. You look at the 64 Kennedy over there, 64P, they struck 273 million coins. 64D, 156 million. 53S, again, 4 million of each. And back then, folks, there weren't that many collectors in the 50s. Most of those coins went into circulation, so there were very few original rolls. So these coins are really hard to get in really nice, brilliant condition. And here's the last chart I'm going to show you, where I compare the rarity of these coins in 6.5 and 6.6 grade to other coins you are more familiar with, like the Morgan dollars, peace dollars, Walking Liberty half dollars. And you could see, for example, your 1881S Morgan, they've graded about 59,000 in 6.5, 19,000 in 6.6, 5,500 in 6.7, over 400 in 6.8. How about something a lot rarer? The 1885 CC, much rarer. Only 3,800 in 6.5, 1,250 in 6.6, only 175 in 6.7, and only 5 in 6.8. Much rarer coin, that 1885 CC. But then look at the 53S Franklin. In 6.5, 4,200 coins. A little easier to find than an 1885 CC. But then in 6.6, I would call it a dead heat. Only 978 coins. And then in 6.7, only 61 coins. Much rarer in 6.7, none in 6.8. And the 54S, very similar, but also a little tougher in higher grade 6.6 and 6.7 condition. The 54S is actually tougher. Now in Signature Series, those numbers up above there, those include all the Franklins they've graded, including all those unattractive toned specimens. Signature Series are just reserved for those coins that have beautiful, brilliant surfaces or stunning toning. And you could see how few I have certified for those two dates in the Signature Series holder. Now, I'm going to show you a few comps. Here's a couple auction prices. Here's a 53S and MS64 that sold for over $1,600 for an MS64 53S. Here's a 53S and MS65 that sold for over $4,100 in MS65. Not a full bell line. Here's a 53S asking price, $1,700 for a 6.5. Not a full bell line. Here's one, 90% full bell line, they're asking $2,700. Here's a 54S in 6.4, $549. Finally, we get to 6.6, $3,400. Again, a real dull-toned specimen. Not a beautiful, brilliant specimen like I'm offering today. And here's one, $14,950. Again, a very dull-toned specimen. Here's what I have for you. If you want a 53S and 54S in MS65, you'll get a free copy of my 4th edition. You'll get the pair for only $329. Where some of these are selling one coin for over $350, $450, you'll get both coins, a 53S and a 54S and MS65 in the Signature Series, $329. That includes the book. Now, if you just want a 53S, as I said, I have a few extra 53Ss in MS66. I can't offer this set in MS67. 66 is top of the line at this moment. You can get a 6.6, not for $10,000 or $5,000 or $3,500. I'll offer you a brilliant hand-selected MS66, a beautiful, brilliant 6.6, nearly full bell lines, $795. But better yet, get the pair. The last two S mints in the Franklin series, 1954 was the last year San Francisco struck Franklin half dollars. The 54S is actually a little tougher to get in 6.6 than the 53S. You can get the pair for only $1,395. I have a limited number of these coins. I have fewer than 20 sets in 53S and 54S in MS66. That 6.6 set is available also on the 2-pay option. Put half down today of $697.50 and we'll hold one of these sets for you. This is a great series. This is a great set. These coins are getting harder to acquire, harder to locate by the month. Again, there were very few 53S and 54S Franklins that were struck. The coins were issued, used for commerce for the most part. The only way you'll find a brilliant specimen is from an original roll. And there weren't that many original rolls of these coins, folks, because again, the mintages were really, really low. And if you do happen to get an original roll, again, Franklins are notorious for bag marks. Here you've got some coins that are beautiful 6.5s, that are just high-end 6.5s, but then you got these 6.6s that are virtual perfection, about as nice as you're gonna see for a fully brilliant Franklin half dollar. So you're getting incredible eye appeal, incredible quality, incredible rarity, at a really great collector-friendly price. So this is a very exciting time to be a collector. Thank you for watching this presentation on a great series. The last series, the Franklin half dollar series, last series struck entirely on 90%, the old-fashioned 90% silver planchets.